Hello and thanks for checking out my video. So this video will be broken down into 4 parts. First, loop mode overview. Second, loop modes, and I'll give 3 examples, and including one that's my favorite. And it's my favorite because you don't need to use the rhythm tracks, and I'll explain a bit more about that in the video. Number 3, the overdub fade out feature. And number 4, the foot controller. Okay, and I'll try to answer the question, is the 22500 good for live performance or not? And I'll say more about that in my little conclusion at the end. Alright, so here we go. Okay, so here we're in the loop mode, and I'll just go over what these mean. So here the S is flashing. This stands for sequential. So that means you can play loop A, and when you switch to loop B, loop A stops, and you can go back and forth. So kind of to do your, say, a verse here and a chorus there. Okay, and you can switch also to P, which is parallel. So that means loop A and B can play at the same time, or you can switch one off and just play one or the other. And next, the 4. So this slot is the your bar measure. So here in 4 means you'll have 4/4, and you can change this 10 to 3/4, 2/4, or N is nothing or not. It doesn't conform to a bar measure. The next slot here, what I have as 1, is the multiple. So at 1, you record, say, 1 bar on loop A. Loop B will be a multiple of 1. So if you have 1 bar in A, you'll have 1 bar in B. And you can switch this up to 2, 3, 4, it goes 5, 6, 7, 8. So these are all multiples. So example, if you have it on 3, you record 1 bar on A, then you'll have 3 bars on B. And this slot has an L now, which stands for loop lock. Okay, so that's going to lock your 2 loops together. F stands for freeform, and so your loops are not locked together at this point. Okay. We have here L1 for P. Alright, so one thing I'll show you is alright, as you can see, nothing happens there when you click on the loop. So in this mode, and a lot of the modes, you need to put a rhythm track. It won't work without the rhythm track. So let's put a rhythm track. So here I pressed rhythm. Alright, so we need to have some kind of rhythm going before we can do anything. Alright, so now we have 2 bars of a bass line and a rhythm track. Alright, so it sounds okay. And if I put something onto loop B, it's in L mode, so it'll be locked. And if we want to take the drums out, we press this one time. If we want to bring it back in, press it one time. 3, 4. If we want to stop one of these, we have to double tap. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, and just one tap to bring it back in. Take this one out, double tap. 3, 4. One tap to bring it back in. If I want to stop everything, then we have to double tap this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And okay, so next I'll show you using Freeform. So we have F, blank, N, and P. So here the two loops won't be locked together. So they can be out of sync, and they can also be different lengths, one from the other. Okay, so I have one bar of a basic bass line here in loop A, and let's try something. Let me try it one more time. 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so now we have 4 bars on loop B and only 1 on loop A. So I just erased loop B. Let's try it again, and we'll do some kind of irregular section on part B. So let me see here. So now it's 3 bars plus half a bar on loop B. Alright, so you can do something odd and weird, and like if you want to do some ambient experimental stuff, I think it works pretty cool. Let's try something. So now I just put the drums on. Didn't really want to do that actually. So if we don't want any drums, the rhythm track here is lit up, so you can turn that off. And now if I press this, it'll stop all. 1, 2, 3, Okay, so next we're on the mode L1 and P, and I have to say this is probably my favorite mode because with this one, when you have the N, so no bar measure, it means that you don't need a rhythm track, so you can just leave the rhythm off. And what I like to do is make my own rhythm. So I'll give you an example of that. Just first clear out the loops. So I could do something like. So now I have my own basic rhythm. Alright, so it's not quantized, but it is locked. So once you have your percussion in and you're happy with it, it feels good, it's in good time. You put a bass line or some chords on top. Now these are going to be locked together and you don't have to worry about them. Okay, so I just put something onto loop B there, and it's going to be locked to loop A. So this also is not going to go out of sync. But you notice I played it twice. You press it once and it's armed, but it's not recording yet. It waits for loop A to go all the way through. And then, so I played it a second time and the second one went in. And now, if I want to stop either of these, just one of these, I need to double tap. 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 1 tap to bring it back in. And this one will stop all with 1 tap, which is really nice. Okay, so the reason why I say this is my favorite is, as I said, because you don't need to use the rhythm track, and it makes your life easier because you can stopping all of it with 1 tap is actually pretty huge, especially if you're performing on a stage live somewhere. You kind of want it to be simple and easy to use. And I find when you have to have the drum tracks involved, it gets more complicated. Because then if you want to stop, when you have the drums, then if you want to stop anything like the 2 loops, you have to double tap, and that could be tricky. If you want to pull the drums out, you have to double tap the drums, and then to stop all, you have to double tap this one. Okay, so it all gets a little bit tricky and risky on stage. Okay, so next I'll go over the overdub function. So now we are, that's the third one down here where it's lit up. Probably can't see it. Anyways, it just says overdub. And in this screen here, it shows 100. All right. So the manual states that the overdub functions like a feedback control on a delay pedal. Okay, so normally I have it set at 100, and that means that your loops are going to replay again and again, 100% fully. All right, so no degradation. But you can play around with it, and by using this knob, so, oops. Okay, going counterclockwise, so it goes down, and I'm going to set it to about 40. And I'll show you a trick that I use to use it as a fade out. All right, so let's go back to our loop here. So loop A, we have the bass line and percussion. Loop B is a riff, and we'll leave it on reverse and octave. A riff I did before, which is with the reverse and octave mode. So now we're going to click B. And voila, you have a fade out. And then you could use that to end a song, although it only works on one or the other. So normally what I would do is then just end this like normally by double tapping. So what happened here was I pressed record and it started overdubbing over itself with a degradation rate of 40. So what happened then, it ends up fading out fairly quickly, and you can set it a bit higher, 50 or 60, and it'll take longer to go out. And one thing, I made sure not to play anything, because if I play anything, then it gets recorded in here. And then the original one fades out, and your next one. Actually, I'll just show you how that works on loop B here. So now I press record, it's going to start fading, but I'll play something else. Alright, so the old loop fades away and the new one stays. And the old one's just about faded out now. And so you can keep going, adding more and more loops, and the old one fades away. The new one stays until you record a new one. All right, so that could be interesting, but I don't really use it that much. I'm not sure how. Maybe someone could come up with ways of using that, but I like to use it just as a fade out, to fade one loop out, or especially near the end of it, towards the end of a song. It could be pretty cool. Okay. And the next thing I'll show you is the foot controller. This is it here. It's quite sturdy and well made. It looks strong enough. And it has two buttons, loop down, loop up. Okay, so and basically what it does is it lets you move up and down the banks. So the 22500 has 100 banks that you can for storing your loops. And so here we're at AB00, so the very first one, and you just kind of go up like this. 7, 8, 9, 10, and if you hold it down, it goes up by multiples of 10. So already on 70, I'll hold it down, 80, 90, 99, and then back to 0. All right, so that's up, and this one is down. And without the foot controller, then you have to use this knob. Press it once till the light flashes, and then you either go clockwise or counterclockwise. Clockwise to go up, counterclockwise to go down. So it's kind of handy. I mean, kind of wish it had a little more functionality to it, but anyways, it is what it is. So my conclusion is that the 22500 is quite a good pedal, good value for the money. As I said, I've had it for about 2 years now, and I found it to be a really good practice tool. You can use in many ways. Practicing, playing over, improvising, playing over chord progressions, that type of thing. And as to my question, is it suitable for live performance? I think it is, actually, although it is a bit tricky and complicated pedal to get a handle on. I think if you do go and read the manual and understand it, get a firm grasp of the features, and I think it's important to prepare and rehearse your songs first. I mean, that's kind of obvious, but you really have to do it carefully with this machine. And then I think you can do well. My own experience is I have performed live, but just on open mics. So like 15 minutes, 2 or 3 songs. So not really a full gig. But when I've performed, I've usually practiced before, and I have quite a solid idea in my mind of what I want to do with it. Most of the time, and a few times I didn't really prepare that much, or I thought I did, but I didn't really enough, and that can be tricky and nerve-wracking, and you can go off the rails, and sometimes you go off the rails and the audience doesn't even notice, but sometimes they do. But anyways, that's been my experience with the pedal, and I'd love to hear about your experience. If you have tips and tricks of your own, please let us know in the comment section. Also, if you have any questions, anything else you want to know about, I might do another video about the 22500. I think there's certainly other topics and features that can be looked into. And so yeah, and thanks again for checking out the video. Click like and subscribe if you feel like it. All right, bye.